Hey guys, welcome to the UF Disciple channel. Today we have a 10 graphics card roundup to see how well they play Fallout 4. Hopefully with this video you'll get a good idea of what kind of graphics card you need for this game. So let's get started. So let's set the ground rules for this roundup. Every card was tested at 3 different resolutions of 1920 by 1080, 2560 by 1440, and 3840 by 2160. At each resolution, only the Ultra setting was used. And each card in this roundup was at the max overclock that I could achieve. I'm going to give you the data on how each card performed with pure frame rates, but also what the value of each card is with their price per frame rate being considered. The value of each card will be assessed in US dollars, but also South African rand since I'm currently in South Africa. Now let's go through the list of the cards in this lineup. Mind you, this isn't an exhaustive representation, but simply the graphics cards I had on hand. For AMD, we have the MSI R9 270X with 2GB of VRAM, as well as the PowerColor Devil R9 390X 8GB edition. For NVidia, we have the Galax GTX 950 EXOC White Edition with 2GB of VRAM, the Gigabyte GTX 960 WIndforce with 2GB, the Galax GTX 960 EXOC with 4GB, the Gigabyte GTX 970 WIndforce with 4, the Galax GTX 970 EXOC Black Edition with 4, the EVGA GTX 970 with 4GB, Galax GTX 980 Hall of Fame Edition with 4GB, and finally the Galax GTX 980 Ti Hall of Fame Edition with 6GB of VRAM. And all of these cards were tested using my Core i7 6700K overclocked to 4.4 GHz with 32GB of 2133 MHz DDR4 RAM. Now before we get into the actual details of the roundup, I just wanted to take a moment to say shame on you, Bethesda. Earlier this year, Bethesda assured us that the frame rate of Fallout 4 would not be limited in any way on the PC. However, in actuality, it is capped at 60 FPS. But you can uncap it when you mess with the game's INI file. But this leads to a double shame on you, Bethesda, because they tied the speed of the game to the frame rates. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. The clip you're seeing now is not sped up in any way. This is my Galax GTX 980 Ti playing at 1080p with the frame rate uncapped, which is an average of over 200. The game runs at a blistering pace if you have the frames over 60. So keep this in mind when you're looking at the frame rates in the charts. They're nearly meaningless over 60 at this point. But if at some point Bethesda fixes this gross error and oversight, then the average of 200 FPS won't be so stupid. Now that I got that out of my system, at 1920 by 1080, all of the cards are able to go above the 60 FPS limit, with the minimum of even the slowest card, the GTX 950, not even dipping below 60 frames. At 2560 by 1440, we see the 960s, R9 270X and 950 dip below the 60 average, but still comfortably above a nice and playable 30 FPS. And every other card was able to stay above the 60 FPS sweet spot. At 4K, the playing field thinned a little bit with the 960s, 950, and R9 270X not even posting 30 FPS at this resolution. The 980 Ti and R9 390X are the lone cards above a 60 FPS average, but the 980 and 970s do a respectable job. So that's all the pure frame rate stuff. What's the price to performance value on each card? Well, here are the following prices that I used to evaluate the card's value in both South African rand and US dollars. Feel free to pause the video at any point to evaluate as you need. At 1920 by 1080, the R9 290X comes out on top with the rand, while the GTX 950 is the winner with the dollar. Either way, neither is a poor choice, since they both easily average over 60 FPS at 1080p. So if you're looking for a budget card, it's hard to go wrong with the GTX 950. At 1440p, the GTX 950 wins in both the rand and the dollar, but keep in mind this card couldn't post 60 FPS at this resolution. If you want the best value card at 1440p that can run the game at 60 FPS, the 970 EXOC is the best choice in South Africa, while the 970 WIndforce wins with the dollar. But realistically, any 970 isn't a bad choice. At 4K, the obvious winner is the R9 390X Devil Edition. It costs 3,800 Rand or $250 less than the 980 Ti and boasts similar results at 4K. It's hard to beat that value. That's a lot of information, but hopefully it was worthwhile to you. I want to give a huge thank you to Wootware for sponsoring today's video. They helped me get my hands on 6 of the 10 cards featured in today's video. Wootware, for those of you who don't know, is South Africa's best computer hardware retailer, being ranked the second best online retailer of any category in South Africa. They offer incredible prices on graphics cards as well as dozens of other types of components. So if you're in South Africa, head on over to wootware.co.za to experience their top tier customer service and woot up your life. So that's it for my Fallout 4 graphics card roundup. Like this video if it was helpful, dislike it if it was more disappointing than Luke Skywalker not being featured in the Star Wars Force Awakens trailers. Subscribe to stay up to date on future tech-related videos, including individual reviews I have coming on each of the cards that are featured here. You can also use my Amazon affiliate code down in the video description to help support my channel monetarily whenever you purchase things on Amazon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.